Hi, and welcome back to the Kung Fu Book Review. Today we're going to be talking about this old gem, which has been recently republished, called Hsing, Chinese Mind-Body Boxing by Robert Winston Smith. So this is an old book that was first published in 1974, but has been reprinted as recently as 2003. So I have the modern copy, which I don't know how many changes they made. This is an interesting book. So I have a very mixed opinion about this book because it's half completely, almost unusably awful, and half brilliant, like conversations with old Hsing masters translated directly into the English relatively well, with really great little insights into the style and to the mentality of the men that sort of built it. But the other half of it is like this, is the worst example of, basically it's unusable, because the figures are so bad, they're really bad, low quality, and they're not linked up with anything in the text, and you have to sort of skip back and forth and work out like what's this move and what's that move, and the figures are so grainy and awful that it's hard to get what's going on anyway. So let's step back for a moment and talk about the author. So we talked about this guy before, actually. So one of his students, Alan Pittman, wrote the book, which we already reviewed, Chinese Internal Boxing. So this is Robert Winston Smith. So he was really one of the pioneers of learning Taiwanese martial arts over in the West. So Chinese martial arts via Taiwan. He was a Western military boxer, and he trained with some of the best guys that were in Taiwan. So as I said before, there's some fantastic photos of him laying into a Chinese martial arts master who's this like big round guy, famous for his called Wang Shujin, famous for his iron shirt kung fu. There's a video of it as well, I think you can find online, and Wang Shujin just being like, no props, right? And Winston Smith being blown away by the fact that he's a big, strong Western military boxer, and who could clearly punch. And he was just like, I can't do anything to this guy. So he kind of got taken in and was like, okay, cool, I'm going to learn Chinese Kung Fu. And he mostly learned Hsing and Bagua from this Taiwanese school. So this book is really his main contribution specifically about Hsing. Because the other stuff that he's written has been sort of either a mixture about different sort of the principle of Chinese martial arts, internal martial arts, or mainly focused on Bagua. So as I said before, this book is half good and half kind of rubbish. So it's in the terms of the old style, like there's no. Here, actually, I tell a lie. So in the modern one there is, but it's got a contents page, but it's. It's in terms of information and structure, it's not well organized as a book. In addition, you've got the old Wade Giles means of translation, so they don't use the pinyin, they use the Wade Giles system, and it's just translated as is, without any explanation. Often this leads to the kind of surreal or mysterious interpretation of Chinese characters, rather than the sort of direct or well understood. You can have mysterious, but a mystery that's going to help you in your training, or you can just have something that is just like 5 snakes dancing. Well, I don't know what that means, right? So, and when you show it to a Chinese person that speaks Chinese and English, they'll be like, I don't know what that means either. So you definitely have some of the translation problems. Right, let's break down the book. So here is said contents page, which I did manage to find. So starts off talking a little bit about the name and the history of the art. The history is okay. Again, with Hsing, it's very complex and there's lots of strands. If you go to the Wikipedia page, you will see that the lineage chart looks like a bowl of udon noodles or something, or ramen noodles. It's all over the place. So this is a very simplified account, and it focuses mainly on the strain, the sort of Hebei strain, the northern strain that most of these guys do. Then he has some sections about that I think is again, this is sort of the better parts of it, is when he talks about the primary requirements and the 5 basic actions, which are sort of these guiding principles. Again, I think generally when Chinese martial arts books, or martial arts books in general, stick to the principles, they're better off. So, like, for example, he talks about the different ways of that the body is held. So you've got the chicken leg, so you've got the kind of yin yang, you're not double weighted, one leg supports and the other one is held light, and you're sort of freely able to change between the two. The dragon body, which is that sort of soft way of moving, where the body is segmented into 3, and you've got these 3 sections: heels to knees, knees to hips, and hips to head. So you've got these, so the body is able to sort of churn and move, and bare shoulders, eagle claws, tiger embrace. So you've got all these different principles, right, that are used to constantly throughout your Xingyi. Am I following these principles? And then he breaks through each of these, and he does the 6 internal and external coordinations, and the way that the hands and feet work. And that's just 2 pages, but it's brilliant. Like, if you're practicing Xingyi, that's it's kind of worth the entrance fee just to get into that. And then he talks about the 5 elements. So he's got a reasonably long section on the 5 elements. He's got pictures of different masters doing them, but the pictures are so grainy and old and small, it's very difficult to make out what's going on. Even I think they might have tried to tidy them up in the 2003 edition, but it's just not very good, to be honest. So, and then he does the applications for each of these different of the 5 elements. The section on the animal forms is just garbage. Like, it's just completely unusable, because he just points out a couple of postures in each animal form, but it's not the whole set. So you can't learn the form, and it's just 3 or 4 pages. And then you get another, so nothing to do with Xingyi, you just get another Yunnan boxing short form again, which you would be impossible to learn based on that, and it looks like an external style. So I don't even know why it's there. It's just a complete waste of everyone's time, to be honest, and I think they probably should have cut it out from the 2003 edition. But then, after 90 pages, of which maybe 5 or 6 pages were good, we get to the diamond in the rough. A brilliant section called Advice from the Masters, right? And it's great. Like, it's different masters. So you've got like Gu Yanshen, Sun Shujing, yeah. So Sun, who's famous creator of Sun Style, the combined form with Tai Chi, Xingyi, and Bagua all together. Chang Shuti, got Liu, so Bruce Francis's teacher. Got all sorts of guys. Sun Lu Tang had another final word in there. So just like, it's basically like these, and it's not that long either, because each of them only says a little bit. So from pages 92 to like 112, the end of the book. So just the last little chunk of the book, sort of 20 pages or so of just absolute gems. From high-level Chinese internal martial arts masters that he sat down and had little interviews about, what do you think you could do to help your practice? And there's genuine moments when I've been reading these and I've been like, yeah, that's what this means. And also, so it's like Xingyi only has 5 fists at the beginning. Each of the fists complements the others. You understand this only after scores of years. So, I mean, that's definitely true. So when you first learn Xingyi, each fist seems like this completely alien thing, but it's just teaching you a way of moving, and then they all kind of slot together and you start to see the elements of one and the other, and you start to see all these little spirally movements inside what looks like a quite linear movement. And yeah, the movement quality slowly increases over time, and it's very, very cleverly designed. The mind is always empty. The inside and the outside are always coordinated. Xingyi has a mutual helping and overcoming principle by which you can generate one style from another as though one fist grew from another. This is the highest achievement. and he's talking about freestyle practice there, and that once you've trained enough, it's just like the next posture arises as if by itself. And yeah, Xingyi is great for that because it's got this way of training where you can kind of mix and remix. You can slowly do it in a constrained way, but then move to a more free way. Yeah, there's just, and it's just every section of that at the end is full of gems. So yeah, it's a strange book because, as I said before, it carries the worst sins of old Chinese martial arts books. You know, pages and pages of pictures, pointless forms that you're not going to be able to learn from within the text, and you know, terrible images that don't show you anything, that you have to bury back and forth to actually work out what it's trying to say. Short bits of text that don't really explain the movements. Sections on the animal forms that just have a few postures and then nothing else. This is impossible to learn from, and doesn't offer anything. But then at the end, the advice from the masters, which is great, and is like, I particularly recommend the Gu Yanshen's section. Like he's got 2 or 3 pages, and it's just great because he was one of the top level like fighter masters, and it's really good. Like his understanding of the art is at a really high level. And it's just, there's a lot of good stuff that I've reread his section many times, and it's helped inform my practice. So yeah, so Robert Winston Smith's book, you know, it's old, it's dated, but you can't really find that advice from the masters anywhere else. So I'd say it's worth the price of admission just for the last 20 pages. And then, you know, scrap the rest. As I said, there's a little nice bit at the start where he talks a little bit about the primary requirements and the principles. And again, that's just 2 or 3 pages, but that's worth, I mean, like, you know, you could scan it and stick it up on your wall, or like on your, I have a whiteboard in my training room, and like I could just put those principles up there and then make sure that they're in my mind as I'm training, or focus on one each time that I come to a session. Good. So yeah, short book, old book, a lot of rubbish, but very mixed opinion. I don't know if I can recommend it in good faith. I mean, like, it's if you can get it for cheap, like, then I'd say take a peek, because the advice from the masters at the end is excellent. The rest of the book is not good. So yeah, there we go. Let me know if you want me to review more Xingyi books. There are other ones and better ones out there. Yep, I've got a whole bunch of them, so do let me know. Good. Please like, share and subscribe, and I hope that your training is going well, everyone.